the loudest man in the room is never the most dangerous man in the room. There are going to be some times where you are finding yourself surrounded by people who talk very loudly and brazenly about their plans and their ambitions and their successes, the things that they are doing, the things that they have done. And possibly you are going to feel sometimes like you need to up your ante and match their level and talk about your achievements and talk about your plans and aspirations, because they seem to do it so brazenly. But it's very important to remember that a man who works in silence will almost always have more success than a man who spends most of his time talking about himself and his aspirations and his successes. It's not that you can't be proud of some of your achievements and your accolades, but it is far better to allow your achievements and accolades to do the talking for you. You don't need to be a representative of your work. Your work and your achievements will represent themselves. The guy who spends all of his time talking about himself and his accolades and his accomplishments doesn't feel truly secure in his accolades and accomplishments. He doesn't feel truly secure in himself, and he feels the need to be a voice for himself, be a walking, talking advertisement for himself, but it doesn't have the effect that he thinks it has. People notice that within that man there is a need for validation, there is a need for attention, there is a need for him to receive praise from others. And when people look at that clearly, they can see that essentially the root of that problem is that that man is not sure within himself. So, despite maybe sometimes you may find yourself in a situation whereby you're around people that are talking very boldly and in a cocky way maybe about their plans and aspirations, you don't then need to match them. You don't then need to try and step up to their level. The reality is that the more dangerous man, the more competent and capable man, works in silence. He lets his work do the talking for him. He doesn't need to be a walking, talking advert for himself, reminding everybody of how great he is. He just does. He just does. He walks the walk without the talk. The talking comes from his achievements. He doesn't post online about how wonderful he is. Again, it doesn't mean that you can't celebrate. It doesn't mean that you can't be proud of your achievements. You should be. But allow other people to point out your successes. You don't need to point it out for yourself. You don't need to be the guy who has to remind everyone of his greatness. It doesn't come across in the way that these guys think it does. Now look, there are going to be times, if we're talking in a physical sense, that the loudest guy in the room can be the most dangerous guy in the room. I mean, the guy that springs to mind when I bring up that point is Sean Strickland, the UFC fighter. This guy talks so much. He talks so much, talks a lot of shit. But the guy can back it up, and in most rooms, he's going to be the most dangerous guy. But 99% of the time, if we cross this over to a physical sense, the most dangerous guy in the room is never the loudest in the room. Because in order to be a dangerous man, you have to have been through a lot of dangerous stuff. And when you understand the dangers of life, in a physical sense, but also in a social sense, you don't feel the need to attract more danger by opening your mouth. This can be in a physical sense. You don't need to talk. If you're a dangerous man, you know the consequences that physical altercations can have, so you have confidence in your ability to defend yourself. But that confidence doesn't extend to arrogance. You don't then feel the need to instigate because you understand the real life repercussions that physical altercations can have. And in a social sense, a dangerous man understands that if he talks himself up to the moon and reminds everybody of his accomplishments, tells everybody what his ambitions are, tells everybody what he's going to do, tells everybody what his plans are, he generates unnecessary targets on his own back. He essentially invites people to try and take him down. A dangerous man does not do that because he understands the risks that come with unnecessary talking, unnecessary provocation of others, unnecessary gloating. So he works in silence. It's not to say he doesn't have confidence. It's not to say he doesn't know he's a capable man. He is a capable man. He doesn't need to tell people he's a capable man. He just is a capable man. And look, this is the mistake that a lot of people are making today. Talking about their capability. It doesn't hold as much weight as just being capable and allowing other people to point out their capability. This can be in a physical sense, it can be in a social sense, but all in all, the dangerous man, the capable man, doesn't feel the need to tell people about his capability. He doesn't feel the need to remind everyone of his achievements and accolades, or indeed tell people what he is going to do. Because he has confidence within himself and confidence within his work, that his work will speak for him, his accolades and accomplishments will speak for him. He doesn't need to be this walking, talking advert. He doesn't need to be. So look, there's going to be times where you're around people that talk really loudly and really boldly. You don't need to do the same. There's also going to be times where you're not getting recognition for your work and you're not getting appreciation for your work, and maybe you want to let everyone know. I would say exercise patience. If you are consistent enough, at some point or another, you will get that appreciation. If you just don't stop, if you just keep doing what you are doing and work hard and do a good job with whatever you do, then at some point or another the praise is coming. It might just be right around the corner, but you don't see it yet. Doesn't mean it's not coming. People lose respect for the guy who feels the need to remind the people of his greatness. Even though you want the praise, even though you maybe feel like the praise hasn't been coming to you, exercise patience, maintain consistency, and at some point or another, it will arrive. That is what a dangerous man does. The talker, he talks. He's an advert of himself. Everybody must know his greatness. The dangerous man doesn't care for that. He allows his work to do the talking. And look, there were times as a young man that I made the mistake of yapping and talking myself up. Within my teens, maybe when I started getting into boxing and I started getting into defending myself, I'd maybe let a few people know, yeah, I'm doing a bit of boxing at the moment, getting quite good. I had a nice spar the other day. I won. And I think that really came from being a young man who was picked on at school. Sometimes in a physical sense, and I really wanted to learn how to fight, to be able to defend myself. But then once I turned the table around and I was able to beat the bullies as such, quite literally, in a legal manner within a boxing environment. But when I was able to do that, it wasn't enough for me. I felt the need to talk about it. And that was a mistake. That was a mistake, because the truly dangerous man, and not to say I am, I can look after myself. I've worked hard enough to get to a point where I have great confidence in myself, but if Sean Strickland comes after me, I'm in trouble. But the truly dangerous man, he doesn't feel the need to promote himself, to tell people how dangerous he is. He just is dangerous. And his work speaks for him. So don't make the mistake that I made by feeling the need to start talking and start yapping about your greatness. If you are great, people will see it eventually. Your work will do the talking for you. Anyway, guys, if you took some value from this video today, be sure to smash the like button, comment your thoughts down below. And if you're new around here, consider subscribing to my channel for more content just like this. Look, if you want to work with me on a one-to-one basis, I do offer one-to-one coaching services. You can find the link down below in the description of this video. As always, guys, thank you for your time and your attention, and I will see you in the next one.